welcome back to part 3 of If X Was an SCP by Site42. If you're new here or you found my channel somehow, like through random or from my TikTok, subscribe to my channel and subscribe to Site42, and let's get on with part 3.
Before you comment, this thing happening with my hair is due to an interaction with SCP, and, you know, starting to dig it. But anyways, let's get down to business. Alistair the Radio Demon is not an SCP, but if it were, how would the SCP Foundation contain it?
Contain him, and Alistair is where we left off last time.
Hello, I'm Dr. Theron Sherman, and in this series we construct hypothetical containment procedures for non-SCP, popular culture entities and objects. Let's begin. As the show is only in pilot, we have very little information to...
We're supposed to get season 1, episode 1, I think it's summer of this year. So, yeah, that's something I'm really looking forward to finally have a first episode from just having the pilot.
Work with at present, but you Has-Been Hotel fans have been highly aggressive about getting your boy on the show, as well as documenting every shred of information you can find hidden in the initial episode. I'm honestly impressed. You're all going to make fine researchers once you're out of academy. Alistair is a demon, specifically one of the more powerful overlords of hell. A lot of the show seems to be alluding to Jewish or Christian religious tropes, such as mentions of Lucifer, Lilith, angels, etc. So much like our Nick Nocturne episode, we'll be digging into demonic containment procedures today. The quickest and cheapest method of demonic containment is the trusty salt circle. Depending on what lore you're following, it could be as easy as pouring a circle of salt, or as difficult as using thaumaturgy to power the containment spell and entering a battle of wills with your captive. And either way, this simple spell is a pushover for more powerful entities. We probably need something with a little more punch. Thankfully, we have a man, or demon, on the inside. SCP-4357-J, nicknamed the Cooperative Demon, is a demon who, in the course of berating our researchers with how stupid they must be to be unable to contain it properly, has repeatedly spilled tips that make its containment more secure, up to the point of painting on security glyphs itself, and even building its own wrought iron cage. These stronger fortifications, along with religious iconography and spray bottles of holy water, have reliably kept 4357-J in containment, and prove invaluable to daily containment of Abrahamic faith-based entities. Of course, like Nick Nocturne, we're looking at one of the highest echelons of demon here, so let's break down the anomalous abilities we need to contain. Pyrokinesis? SCP-457 is a being of sentient flame, so sprinkler systems will be a requirement. Shadow manipulation. If your entity can manipulate shadows, leave no shadows to manipulate. SCP-017 is a blueprint for shadowless rune containment protocols. Much of Alistair's demonic or voodoo magics can be nullified by the right combination of runes and sigils. Unfortunately, the Foundation's biggest weakness is teleportation. After all, SCP-507, the reluctant dimension hopper, still ports out of containment at random, and all we can do is go pick it up when it reappears. Since Alistair is capable of teleporting himself as well as others by using portals, all we can hope is that some combination of religious iconography, the iron in the containment cell, and...
Maybe Alistair wouldn't even try to breach containment. He'd probably just do it for entertainment-wise out of boredom, like why he's helping Charlie with the hotel to begin with. I could see that being I could see that being a thing with him.
Liberal application of Scranton reality anchors can do the job. If so, brilliant! We nailed it. If not, well, I guess we just have to hope that that snazzy demon stays down in hell. The TVA is not an SCP, but if it were...
What's the TVA? Well, I'll find out now, obviously.
How would the SCP Foundation contain it? Hello, I'm Dr. Theron Sherman, and in this series, we construct hypothetical containment procedures for non-SCP popular culture entities and objects. Before we begin, today's episode is brought to you by the Site42 Patreon. Head to the link in our bio to get early access to Site42 videos and other perks. And as always, support independent artists. Now, let's get started. Spoilers for all of Season 1 of Loki. The Time Variance Authority is the kind of bureaucratic authority.
Oh, it's from the show Loki. That's on Disney Plus. I've never seen, but I love Loki as a character, so this will be cool.
And shadow organization that the Foundation can really get along with. There are probably multiple realities where the TVA and SCP Foundation simply work together. But in case things don't go smooth, and let's face it, it never goes smooth, let's look at other ways the Foundation has dealt with, essentially, itself. In SCP 4755, the Foundation, 100 years from now, has become so evolved that it has ascended to a non conceptual form of existence and is literally containing its past self, us. In SCP 4839, the administrator from one of the alternate realities becomes so obsessed with containing things that they attempt to contain literally everything. SCP 1322 is a wild ride where we find a wormhole to an alternate dimension with an alternate foundation, but while things go well in the beginning, trading technology and things like that, one of our harmless flu viruses decimates their global population, and the vaccine we send them to cure it sterilizes the rest of them. So,
holy shit. Damn, that alternate version of the Foundation just gets all kinds of fucked.
they start sending nuclear weapons through the wormhole for revenge. And in my personal favorite example, SCP-4052 is the story of the time the Foundation went head-to-head with, I kid you not, the Sandwich Police, or as they call themselves, Sandwich Cataclysm Prevention. If you bring anything resembling a sandwich into the city of Sandwich, Illinois, an extra-dimensional officer will materialize, ask to see your sandwich license, and since
Oh my god. Oh, I gotta look this up later. You know what? I'll type it in on YouTube real quick. Looked it up, only found one video that actually is about 4052. I might do a reaction to that in the future. Like maybe sometime this week or early next week.
who has one of those, he takes your sandwich to his sandwich police car and disappears. Apparently, sandwiches somehow cause cataclysms in their dimension, and we eventually reach an agreement with them to stop testing and blowing up their home with sandwiches. So, with all of this research, how would we contain the TVA? It's actually very simple, and would progress almost identically to the plot of the Loki series. First, we need to encounter the TVA. That's easy. The Foundation is probably responsible for a fairly high amount of branching timelines on their own. Once we've encountered a group of TVA hunters, the question is, can we stop them from purging our timeline long enough to procure one of their temp pads? And since they seemingly only come armed with their purging sticks and the purge grenade, I believe our mobile task forces, or even one agent armed with a gun, would do fine enough at this step. Once we've engaged the TVA, we covertly research their archives to discover the void at the end of time. After pruning several D-class and tracking them using chronometers to make sure it works, we'd send our agents into the void. Here, we have Eliath, a daunting threat to be sure, but if 2 Loki variants are enough to enchant the entity, so too can any multitude of emetics or cognitohazards we have lying around. Hell, maybe we'll just toss the procrastination rock into it, and it will put off eating us and open the way to our final destination, the Citadel, at the end of time. And when we face Immortus or Kang or whatever he's calling himself, what does the Foundation do from there? Obviously, we take his deal, take over the TVA, and run the show ourselves. Hey, look at me. Look at me. I'm the TVA now.
That's a Molly Pirate reference.
Also, just an extra thought. If you change the names around with the Loki plot a little, there is a Prime Foundation who's maintaining normalcy and protecting their universe from being ZK'd by ZKing every branch in the timeline and alternate foundation is a solid 001 proposal. I wouldn't be shocked if we already have an article or tale like that and I simply don't know about it. The Death Note is not an SCP, but if it were, how would the SCP Foundation contain it?
I don't know if there's any other like book SCPs. Maybe you could keep it in like a storage facility that one person has a key to it or something. I don't know. Let's see what they say.
Sherman, and in this series we construct hypothetical containment procedures for non-SCP popular culture entities and objects. Let's begin. Almost all Death Notes currently in the human world are kept within a safe class containment locker located at Site, while the few that are still on the loose are being tracked by our field agents. The first Death Note the Foundation acquired was put through rigorous testing. Dr. who scored high in loyalty to the Foundation and low to medium in empathy, ran numerous tests on the abilities of the Death Note. Several D-Class later, the capabilities and limitations of the object were well understood. Further intelligence was gained through interviews with the Shinigami entity, including information about the Shinigami.
I bet Ryuk would just be happy being at the Foundation if you just gave him all the apples he wanted. I can see that being a thing.
Realm and the existence of other Death Notes and Shinigami. In order to contain the other Death Notes, Foundation artificial intelligence constructs use algorithmic abnormalities in causes of death data to predict with 95.8% accuracy that a Death Note is in play, based on the progression of the testing its capabilities that all new owners go through. If you think that's a little far-fetched, remember that civilian algorithms used by the store chain known as Target were able to determine that a teen girl was pregnant before her father knew. Google Target knows you're pregnant. It's a trip. It's incredible how fast civilians are catching up with Foundation tech. For those concerned for the safety of our requisition teams chasing down the Death Notes, have no fear. When you're part of a global secret organization that erases the memories of everyone who encounters us, we're not worried about you finding our name and face before we find you. Bendy and the Ink Machine is not an SCP. But if it were, how would the SCP Foundation contain it? Hello, I'm Dr. Theron Sherman, and in this series we construct hypothetical containment procedures for non-SCP popular culture entities and objects. Let's begin. In order to go through with this hypothetical, we need to assume that the story of Bendy and the Ink Machine actually happened. No dream sequences, and no, we're actually in purgatory or hell here.
It did happen because it's in like its own inky world, according to the Dark Revival.
The defunct Joey Drew Studios office would be purchased by the Foundation. As we can't up and move an entire building, a containment site would be set up with a cover story of condemning the building. Gawking civilians and adventurous youths alike would be turned away by on-site security and/or amnesticized as needed. Within the opening rooms of the building, a foothold would be set up by researchers and security forces. Security teams would room by room explore the facility and mop up the ink creatures. Likely a thrilling scene for a Mobile Task Force themed short film, don't you think? Wink at the camera. Our biggest goal would be the ink machine itself. I can tell you from personal experience that Foundation researchers would be chomping at the bit to analyze anomalous tech like that. Finding a way to power off and piece by piece remove the machine from the office and bring it to our labs would be our #1 research priority. And in the worst case scenario, the ink creatures, even the ridiculously powerful Bendy itself, never seem to attempt to leave the studio. So even if we can't procure the equipment for research, it's still a successful containment if we can lock down the office and keep the ink creatures from escaping. Firebenders are not SCPs. But if they were, how would the...
They're just humans, though, with fire powers. Same with all the other benders. It should have been, if the Avatar was real, how would they contain it? It honestly shouldn't have been just firebenders. The Avatar itself would have made way more sense to contain. This is still awesome, but I'm just saying.
SCP Foundation contained them. Hello, I'm Dr. Theron Sherman, and in this series we construct hypothetical containment procedures for non-SCP popular culture entities and objects. Let's begin. Today's episode is brought to you by the Site42 Patreon. Head to the link in our bio to get early access to Site42 videos and other perks. As always, support independent artists. Firebending is a unique form of bending in the Avatar world. While earth, water, and airbenders require their element to be present to be bent, firebenders are capable of generating fire, lightning, and explosive blasts from nothing but their own breath. This makes them a unique containment challenge, but nothing we can't handle. Luckily for our research, the Legend of Korra showed us a high-security prison specifically meant to contain Red Lotus member Pli. To start, an Antarctic site would be established, as cold temperatures and distance from the equator both dampen firebending efficacy. A layer of ice would be utilized in the containment cell, as well as industrial air conditioning equipment. Many will wonder about the breath of fire technique that Zuko and Iroh have utilized in cold temperatures to maintain body heat. While true that it is a wonderful survival tool to stop oneself from freezing to death, the ability isn't meant to sustain firebending power levels in extreme conditions. To dissuade any lightning-based escape attempts, firebenders capable of the lightning bending technique would be placed in a separate wing reinforced with insulation. Ice is a poor conductor of electricity already, but we can't be too careful. Those capable of the combustion bending style, epitomized by Plea and fan favorite Sparky Sparky Boom Boom Man, would be fitted with metal helmets covering their third eye. Even powerless, firebending culture has strong focus on martial arts acumen. To deal with this, all on-site security staff would be required to hold high marks in close quarters combat, as well as carry standard issue equipment to prevent any altercations. Deadpool is not an SCP, but if it were,
Yes, fucking Deadpool. I love it.
how would the SCP Foundation contain it? Hello, I'm Dr. Theron Sherman, and in this series we construct hypothetical containment procedures for non-SCP popular culture entities and objects. Let's begin. Deadpool. The merc with the mouth. The regenerating degenerate. That asshole. Deadpool has quite the arsenal of powers, skills, weapons, and gadgets. Powers-wise, we're looking at regeneration, enhanced strength, enhanced speed, resistance to psychic assault and some toxins, and of course, fourth wall awareness. For skills, the mercenary boasts knowledge of multiple martial arts, enhanced athletic prowess, and is an expert marksman and swordsman. The subject is always armed with its signature weapons: swords, guns, knives, and grenades. It also uses gadgets such as holographic projectors and a variety of teleportation devices. The first step in standard containment would be an overdose of tranquilizers to sedate the subject, possibly hidden in a chimichanga. This will give our agents ample opportunity to disarm and bind the subject, Hannibal Lecter's.
You could put a bunch of tranquilizers in like an all-you-can-eat chimichanga buffet or something and lure him there. That'd be a good idea.
Style. Can't have any of those fancy martial arts being used on our researchers, can we? Our focus of study would be Deadpool's healing factor. Using a combination of the mutant inhibitor collar featured in Deadpool 2, along with different healing-centric SCPs, we could learn much from our new guinea pig without accidentally letting its cancer cause it to shuffle off its mortal coil to its waiting girlfriend's arms. One last thorn in our side we need to worry about is Deadpool's, quote, insanity, that allows it to realize that it is a fictional character. Well, I should say, thorn that we don't need to worry about at all, because Deadpool isn't the only one who can play the fourth wall-breaking game.
He's not the only one that can do the fourth wall breaking game. Who in the Foundation can match Deadpool in that regard?
Every morning, a fresh start with Jimmy Dean Delight's breakfast sandwiches.
In one of the many SCP-001 proposals, specifically S. Andrew Swan's proposal, the Foundation collates the data from all SCP documents into a single extra-universal server that realizes that articles are being added, updated, and deleted with no rhyme nor reason. Or, no rhyme nor reason until they realize the truth. They are fictional characters in a universe created by SCP-001. Us, the SCP authors. Bwah! Beyond that, we have the Pataphysics Department, which is a fictional department created by the Foundation for the containment of metafictional entities. So, the fictional Foundation created a fictional department, and that fictional department deconstructed an intrafictional character into a depressed shell of its author using an unfinished version of its character manuscript that they straight up made up in order to contain it, and now I've gone cross-eyed from confusion. Ugh.
Yeah, I'm lost on this too. I wasn't able to follow along.
Sure, it nearly figured out the game and got away, and also nearly deconstructed the Pataphysics Department itself in the process, but you know what? Deadpool's best fourth wall breaks are information gathering, not bending the universe around its will. So we're gonna be fine. I hope. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is not an SCP. But if it were, how would the SCP Foundation contain it? Hello, I'm Dr. Theron Sherman, and in this series we construct hypothetical containment procedures for non-SCP popular culture entities and objects.
After this one, there's like one left, or maybe this is the last one on that next spot's the conclusion. Regardless, this has been fun, and I can't wait for the second
Today's
one that their compilation they're doing.
episode is brought to you by the Site 42 merch store. Head to the link in our bio to get SCP merch commissioned from SCP artists. As always, support independent artists. With that out of the way, let's begin. As a reminder, Five Nights at Freddy's is an expansive lore, so our containment hypotheticals will focus on one game at a time. As with the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location, the Foundation would first purchase the location and animatronics and close the facility, or use agents embedded in local government to condemn the restaurant for obvious health code violations. Our staff would need the means to survive working in the facility. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 definitely took the bigger is better approach to the FNAF franchise. We've got 11 animatronics plus multiple ghost-like entities. There are more rooms, more cameras, more entries into the office, and not even the decency of doors to keep you safe. But really, who needs doors when you have the Freddy Fazbear mask? This baby keeps you safe from 90% of the game's animatronics by fooling their sensors into thinking you are one of them. As a start, research staff would be provided customized hazmat suits modeled to look like
They would go through a lot of D-class with the testing there, most likely.
the animatronic mascots during on-site study. Proper oxygenation would ensure that no low-oxygen hallucinations cause any issues. Note that the Foundation already has experience in modified fursuits, shown in the field log, Mobile Task Furries. These custom suits don't protect from all
That's a thing? That's cool.
the animatronics, however. We still have to contend with Foxy and Marionette, both of which are wildly simple fixes. For the Marionette, an automated winder would be installed to keep its music box from reaching the end. Meanwhile, Foxy is stopped by a blinking flashlight, so strobe lights would be installed in its home zone to keep it pinned down. With our researchers safe to study the interior of the restaurant day or night, we don't even need to waste D-class personnel keeping the animatronics busy.
Oh, they wouldn't even use D-class. So I was wrong on that part.
Well, we won't after the trial and error nights of figuring out the containment protocols, that is. And of course, a Scranton reality anchor would be installed on site to mitigate the danger of any pesky wandering shades. The Doki Doki Literature Club is not an SCP, but if it were, how would the SCP Foundation contain it? Sentient artificial intelligence constructs would be worthy of containment in the Foundation's eyes. Luckily, the
Especially Monica.
containment is quite simple. In our scenario, the game would be removed from download platforms as soon as the Foundation got word that the characters were alive. A disinformation campaign would be enacted to convince the general public that the game was never released, simply an urban legend. You may recall a similar containment procedure we enacted called Polybius. Foundation web crawlers would remove conspiratorial posts that refute our story, and agents would be dispatched to amnesticize particularly adamant gamers. Team Salvato, the developers of the game, would be detained and questioned. Their containment, amnesticization, or other fates would be up to the answers they gave.
What about popular playthroughs like Markipliers and other YouTubers, though? How would the Foundation handle that?
Regarding their creation of these AIs. 2 copies of the game would be kept intact, the testing copy and the backup copy. The testing copy would be stored on a Foundation computer without internet access. This computer would be kept in a Faraday-shielded room. Researchers are to relinquish all electronics before entering the chamber. The backup copy would be kept in an isolated data drive in a storage locker. Researchers would begin study by interviewing the Monica entity. In kinder research scenarios, we would continue working with the Monica entity and possibly give it an on-staff therapist to help it deal with its emotional issues regarding its situation. In colder test scenarios, we would likely have Monica deleted in order to pass the self-awareness onto the other characters in order to gain even more insight. As for the cryptic references regarding Project Libertina, the Portrait of Markov, the Third Eye, etc., well, research continues. Make sure to like and share this video, comment, and
Alright, and that is part 3. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video I do, and look forward to more of my Emerald Crest randomized Nuzlocke.